Have you ever planted a beautiful, expensive flower, watered it perfectly every single day, and then watched in total frustration as it slowly turned yellow and died anyway? You are definitely not alone in this struggle. Today, we are going to talk about testing your soil pH right at home, and I promise you will learn a fascinating secret that will completely change the way you garden forever. It turns out, the reason your plants are dying might have absolutely nothing to do with how much water or fertilizer you are giving them. In fact, you might actually be starving your plants by feeding them too much. We are going to reveal an incredibly simple, surprisingly fun kitchen trick to uncover the hidden truth beneath your lawn. If you have ever joked about having a black thumb that kills every plant you touch, I want you to head down to the comments right now and let me know, because by the end of this video, we are going to turn that completely around. Before the invention of modern science laboratories and digital probes, ancient farmers still had to figure out if their land was actually capable of growing food. Hundreds of years ago, pioneers and agricultural workers would literally pick up a handful of dirt, put it directly into their mouths, and taste it to see if it was sour or sweet. A sour taste meant the land was highly acidic, while a sweet or chalky taste meant it was heavily alkaline. Fortunately for us, we no longer have to eat mud to figure out the chemical composition of our backyards. We now understand that soil pH is the foundational building block of all agriculture. It dictates exactly how minerals and vital nutrients interact with the delicate root systems of our food and flowers. Understanding this historical background shows us that testing the earth is an ancient, fundamental practice that every gardener must master to be truly successful. Let us start by looking at what is actually happening beneath the surface of your garden. You might be wondering why we even care about the pH level of our soil in the first place. Well, think of the soil pH as the complex digestive system of your beloved plants. When the pH level is completely out of balance, the plant simply cannot absorb the nutrients it desperately needs to survive and thrive. You could dump pounds and pounds of the most expensive, premium fertilizer into your garden beds every single week. But if the pH is wrong, that food is practically invisible to the plant roots. It is exactly like putting a heavy padlock on your kitchen refrigerator and then wondering why you are still feeling so incredibly hungry. The food is sitting right there, but you just cannot reach it. Many people believe the popular myth that a sick plant always needs more food or more water. However, the truth is often much simpler and much cheaper to fix. By understanding the acidity or alkalinity of the ground, you are unlocking the pantry door for your tomatoes, your roses, and your lawn. A great illustration of this is when you see a blueberry bush turning yellow and looking incredibly sad. People rush to give it nitrogen, but the poor bush is just sitting in soil that is way too alkaline for its specific taste. It is begging for a more acidic environment to finally eat its dinner. We are going to fix that exact problem today. Now, let us move on to a very common misconception that trips up so many beginners. There is a massive myth out there that all dirt is essentially just dirt, and that any plant should be able to grow in any backyard as long as you give it enough sunlight. This could not be further from the actual truth. Soil is a complex living ecosystem, and its pH level is determined by centuries of geological changes, local rainfall, and the types of ancient rocks buried deep beneath your house. Imagine trying to force a desert cactus to live in a dark, damp swamp. It just will not work because the environment is completely wrong for its specific genetic needs. The same goes for the unseen chemical environment of your garden beds. For a vivid illustration, think about planting a beautiful hydrangea bush. In acidic soil, those flowers will bloom in a brilliant, breathtaking blue colour. But if you take that exact same plant and move it to alkaline soil, the flowers will actually change to a bright, vibrant pink. The soil literally changes the physical colour of the plant. That is the incredible hidden power of the pH level. It acts like a giant, invisible sponge beneath the earth. If the pH is wrong, the sponge squeezes tight and holds onto the nutrients, refusing to share them with your struggling, hungry plants. To really master this concept, we need to understand what the pH scale actually means in plain, everyday English. Do not worry, we are not going to get bogged down in complicated chemistry formulas or boring textbook science. The pH scale is just a simple number line that runs from 0 all the way up to 14. Right in the middle of that line is the number 7, which is perfectly neutral. Pure, clean drinking water usually sits right around a 7. If the number falls below 7, we call that acidic. A great example of this is your morning cup of black coffee or a glass of orange juice, which are both highly acidic liquids. On the other hand, if the number goes above 7, we call that alkaline or basic. Think about strong household cleaners like bleach or ammonia. Those liquids are incredibly alkaline. Most of the everyday vegetables and beautiful flowers you want to grow are looking for a sweet spot, right around 6.5 to 7.0. They want things just slightly acidic. If the ground gets too close to the extreme ends of the scale, the delicate roots of your plants will literally start to burn. It is a fantastic reminder that nature loves balance above all else. Once you know exactly where your garden falls on this simple number line, you hold the ultimate key to growing absolute giants in your yard. Before you even start mixing anything in your kitchen, your garden is probably already trying to tell you exactly what is wrong. Plants have a fascinating way of communicating their distress through visual signs, if you just know what to look for. One of the most obvious red flags is a condition called chlorosis. This is a fancy scientific word for when the leaves of your plant turn pale yellow, but the veins running through the leaves stay dark green. It creates a striking, almost spiderweb-like pattern across the foliage. Many people see these yellow leaves and immediately assume the plant needs more water, which often leads to drowning the poor thing. The myth here is that yellow leaves always equal thirst. In reality, this specific yellowing usually means the plant is completely locked out of absorbing vital iron, and that almost always happens because the soil is way too alkaline. For example, if you look at a tomato plant that has stopped growing and looks sickly yellow despite perfect summer weather, it is practically screaming for a pH adjustment. The roots are suffocating in an environment that is too basic. By learning to read these early warning signs, you can save your plants weeks of unnecessary stress and stop wasting your hard-earned money on the completely wrong fertilizers. Now we are ready to prepare for the ultimate home test, but gathering your soil sample correctly is the absolute most critical step of the entire process. You cannot just scrape a handful of loose dirt from the very top of your garden bed and expect accurate results. The very top layer is full of uncomposted mulch, fresh leaves, and recent rain, which will totally throw off your reading. Instead, you need to grab a clean metal trowel and dig down about 4 to 6 inches into the earth. This is where the actual feeding roots of your plants live, so this is the soil that truly matters. A great illustration of this mistake is trying to judge the flavour of an entire, multi-layered chocolate cake by only licking a tiny bit of the vanilla frosting on the top. You are completely missing the real, heavy substance underneath. You also want to make sure you remove any large rocks, stray sticks, or crawling bugs from your sample. We only want the pure, unadulterated soil. Put this dirt into a clean plastic or glass container. Please do not use a metal bowl, as the metal can sometimes chemically react with the soil and skew the final results of our test. Taking your time to dig deep and prepare a clean, pure sample will guarantee that the kitchen science experiment we are about to do is incredibly accurate. Here is another crucial secret about testing your garden that most beginners completely ignore. You should never rely on just one single soil sample to tell the story of your entire yard. Every garden is full of invisible microclimates and wildly varying soil compositions. The dirt right next to your concrete driveway is likely going to be much more alkaline because the lime from the concrete slowly leaches into the ground over time. Meanwhile, the soil directly sitting under a massive pine tree in the backyard might be highly acidic from years of dropping thousands of pine needles. If you only test the dirt near the driveway, you might accidentally ruin the rest of your lawn by treating it for a chemical problem it does not even have. Think about a patchy lawn where one specific square is completely dead, while the rest is lush and green. That dead patch probably has a totally different pH level than the healthy grass just 3 feet away. To get a true understanding, you need to walk around and take completely separate samples from your vegetable beds, your flower borders, and your front lawn. Keep these samples in separate cups and label them clearly. It takes just a few extra minutes, but it will give you a complete, accurate map of exactly what is happening beneath your entire property. Let us head straight into the kitchen for the best part of this entire process, the Great Pantry Raid. We are going to perform a highly effective test using items you almost certainly already have sitting in your cupboards right now. You will need plain white household vinegar and standard baking soda. That is it. There is a very pervasive, frustrating myth pushed by big garden centres that you need to spend $30 or $40 on fancy, single-use chemical testing kits or complicated digital probes just to figure out what is wrong with your yard. While those professional tools can give you a precise decimal number, they are completely unnecessary for the average home gardener who simply wants to know if their dirt is too sour or too sweet. This simple pantry method has been used by clever farmers for many generations. It is a fantastic illustration of using basic chemistry to solve everyday problems. Think of it exactly like baking a delicious cake from scratch. You do not need professional, expensive commercial bakery equipment to make something wonderful. You just need the right basic ingredients and a little bit of knowledge. By using household vinegar and baking soda, we are going to force the soil to reveal its hidden secrets through a very clear, undeniable physical reaction that happens right before your own eyes. Let us begin with step 1 of our kitchen science experiment, which is the setup for the alkaline test. Take the first soil sample you collected from the garden and put a few heaping spoonfuls of it into a clean, clear glass bowl. You really want the bowl to be clear so you can easily see what happens next from the side. Now you need to add just enough water to turn that dry dirt into a thick, muddy paste. However, there is a massive catch here that you absolutely must not ignore. You must use distilled water for this step, not regular tap water from your kitchen sink. City tap water is often chemically treated and usually leans a bit alkaline, which will completely ruin your test results before you even begin. Using tap water is like trying to measure the exact weight of a tiny feather while standing outside in a massive windstorm. There is just too much outside interference. Distilled water, which you can get at any local grocery store for about $1, is perfectly neutral at a pH of exactly 7. Mix the distilled water into your dirt and stir it around until it looks like a thick, smooth chocolate pudding. Ensure there are no large dry clumps left hiding in the middle. We want a perfectly consistent mud pie, so the upcoming chemical reaction has maximum surface area to work its magic. Now it is time for the main event of the alkaline test, the vinegar drop. Take your bottle of plain white vinegar and pour about half a cup of it directly onto the muddy paste you just created in the bowl. As soon as the clear liquid hits the dirt, you need to stop, lean in close, and watch very carefully. You are looking and listening for a specific physical reaction. You might even want to hold your ear close to the bowl to catch the sound. A brilliant illustration of what we're expecting here is the classic baking soda volcano you might have built for a school science fair when you were a young kid. When you combine an acid with a base, they violently react with each other and rapidly release gas. In this case, the plain white vinegar is highly acidic. If your soil happens to be highly alkaline, meaning it contains a lot of base materials like natural calcium or lime, the two opposite forces will immediately clash. You are essentially creating a miniature chemical battlefield right there in that clear glass bowl. This is where we completely shatter the boring myth that gardening is just a slow process of watching grass grow. Right now, you are conducting rapid-fire chemistry. Keep your eyes locked on the surface of the mud and wait to see if the earth begins to speak back to you. So what are we actually looking at when we try to decode the results of this exciting vinegar test? If you poured the vinegar and your mud suddenly started to violently fizz, bubble, and crackle, you have just discovered a massive clue about the health of your garden. Those tiny bubbles are actually trapped carbon dioxide gas rapidly escaping into the air around you. This fizzing reaction guarantees that your soil is decidedly alkaline, likely sitting somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8.5 on the pH scale. This is incredibly valuable information for your future planting. If you have been trying to grow acid-loving plants like delicate azaleas, giant rhododendrons, or sweet blueberries in this exact spot, and they keep dying, you now know exactly why. They have been slowly suffocating in an alkaline trap. However, this is actually fantastic news if you want to grow beautiful lavender bushes, bright climbing clematis, or hearty asparagus spears, because those specific plants absolutely love alkaline dirt. They will thrive beautifully in this exact environment. If your soil did fizz, you can stop the testing right here for this specific sample because you have your final answer. But if you poured the vinegar and absolutely nothing happened, we have to move on to the next phase. Because your soil did not react to the vinegar drop, we now need to set up the baking soda test to check for hidden acidity. Before you do absolutely anything else, you must go back out to the garden and get a brand new, completely fresh sample of dirt. You cannot simply reuse the muddy mixture from the first vinegar test. There is a surprisingly common myth online that you can just toss baking soda straight into the vinegar mud to save some time. Please do not do this. You have already introduced a strong liquid acid to that first sample, so it is completely contaminated and completely ruined for any future testing. Think of it like trying to cook delicate, fluffy scrambled eggs in a frying pan that you just used to burn a highly spicy curry without washing the pan first. The lingering strong flavours will completely destroy the new dish. You must start with a totally clean slate. Take a fresh scoop of dirt from a depth of 4 to 6 inches, place it in a brand new, clean glass bowl, and remove any hidden debris. We are setting up a completely fair and unbiased environment for our next chemical reaction. Take your time to prepare this second sample just as carefully as the first. This attention to detail is the secret difference between just guessing at your problems and actually solving them. Now we are ready to execute the baking soda test. Just like before, you need to add a small amount of perfectly neutral distilled water to your fresh bowl of dirt. Stir it thoroughly until you have created another thick, wonderfully consistent mud slurry. Once your mud pie is perfectly smooth, it is time to introduce our brand new active ingredient. Take about half a cup of standard dry baking soda powder and sprinkle it evenly over the top of the wet dirt. Then, take a clean spoon and gently stir the white powder down into the mud. You do not need to mix it violently, just fold it in, so the dry baking soda makes really good contact with the moisture locked inside the soil. A great illustration of this process is when you are making a cup of thick, hot chocolate on a freezing cold winter day. You want to slowly stir the cocoa powder into the hot water until it is fully incorporated, rather than just dumping it on top and leaving a dry, dusty mountain of powder floating there. As you gently stir the baking soda into the earth, leaning close once again. You are using the exact same principles of chemistry as before, but this time we have completely flipped the script. The baking soda is our strong alkaline base, and it is going on a search and destroy mission to find any hidden acids lurking in your garden. Let us decode the exciting results of the baking soda test. If you stirred the white powder into the mud and it immediately started to bubble, fizz, and foam up, you have just found the exact answer you were looking for. This vigorous fizzing means your soil is highly acidic, likely dropping down below a 6.0 on our scale. The alkaline baking soda is violently reacting with the natural hidden acids locked inside the dirt. To give you a very clear visual illustration, imagine squeezing the juice of a sour yellow lemon directly onto a pile of baking soda sitting on your kitchen counter. It will instantly foam up into a massive, bubbly white mess. That is exactly what is happening in miniature form right inside your glass bowl. This is the perfect moment to bust the myth that acidic soil is inherently a terrible thing for your yard. In fact, if your yard fizzes wildly with baking soda, You are holding the perfect real estate for growing massive, juicy blueberries, gorgeous pink camellias, and towering evergreen pine trees. They will think they are living in an absolute woodland paradise. Knowing your dirt is heavily acidic explains why your tomatoes might be constantly struggling with blossom end rot, as they often have a hard time pulling calcium out of sour environments. But what happens if you finally reach the end of both tests and you get absolutely no reaction at all? The white vinegar did not fizz, and the baking soda did absolutely nothing but make the mud look a little bit chalky. Please do not panic. There is a very common misconception among absolute beginners that if neither test produces a dramatic, bubbling volcano, it means you did the entire experiment wrong, or your dirt is completely dead. Actually, experiencing zero reaction is the absolute best outcome you could possibly hope for today. If your soil does not react to the strong acid and it does not react to the strong base, it means your soil is perfectly neutral. It is sitting exactly in the sweet spot between 6.5 and 7.0. Think of the classic children's fairy tale of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The vinegar test was too hot, the baking soda test was too cold, but the neutral soil is just right. This calm, neutral zone is the absolute holy grail for most everyday vegetable gardens and typical landscape plants. In this perfect, peaceful middle ground, every single nutrient in the dirt is unlocked, easily available, and ready to be absorbed by your hungry plants. If you got absolutely no fizz on either test, give yourself a massive pat on the back. If you want to take your home testing to the absolute next level and get a far more specific idea of exactly where you land on the scale, there is a second, slightly more advanced do-it-yourself method. This one involves a very surprising ingredient, a standard head of raw red cabbage. Yes, the exact same purple cabbage you use to make a summer coleslaw holds an incredible scientific secret inside its leaves. Red cabbage contains a special, naturally occurring pigment called anthocyanin. This specific purple pigment is highly sensitive to changes in acidity and alkalinity, meaning it will physically change its colour based on whatever it touches. Think of it as a natural botanical mood ring for your entire garden. It is a brilliant illustration of how the natural world provides its very own built-in testing equipment. We can easily extract this magic purple juice and use it to paint a perfect colourful picture of our exact soil conditions. This method completely shatters the myth that you absolutely need complicated chemical droplets from a professional laboratory to get a visual colour reading. Nature has already provided the perfect chemical indicator, sitting right there in the produce aisle of your local grocery store. The colourful results are absolutely stunning and incredibly fun to watch unfold. To brew this magic cabbage indicator, you need to channel your inner kitchen wizard for a few minutes. Start by taking about 2 cups of chopped red cabbage leaves. You do not need to be perfectly neat about it. Just roughly chop them up with a knife to expose the inner plant fibres. Place those thick purple leaves into a large glass bowl or a heat-safe measuring cup. Next, you need to boil 2 cups of perfectly neutral distilled water. Again, using distilled water is absolutely mandatory here to prevent false colour readings. Pour that rapidly boiling distilled water directly over the chopped cabbage leaves. Now you simply wait. You need to let this mixture steep undisturbed for at least 30 minutes. A great illustration of this process is making a very strong, somewhat weird-smelling herbal tea. As the hot water sits, it pulls those magic anthocyanin pigments right out of the plant fibres. You will quickly notice the water turning a very deep, rich, beautiful purple colour, while the cabbage leaves themselves start to look pale and exhausted. Once the 30 minutes have finally passed, carefully strain the liquid into a clean glass jar and throw the old cabbage pieces into your compost pile. You are now holding a jar of highly potent, naturally derived indicator liquid. Now we finally execute the amazing cabbage test. Take a clean, clear glass cup and place about 2 tablespoons of a fresh, rock-free soil sample, straight from your garden, right into the bottom. Next, take your freshly brewed, bright purple cabbage water and pour a few inches of it directly over the dirt. Take a clean spoon and give the mixture a very vigorous stir. You want to make sure the dirt and the purple water are completely combined into a murky, muddy soup. Once it is mixed thoroughly, you must practice a little bit of Zen patience. Set the glass down on a bright white piece of paper or a white paper towel and leave it completely undisturbed for about 30 minutes. You need to allow all the heavy particles of sand and dirt to naturally settle all the way to the bottom of the glass. Think of it like vigorously shaking up a holiday snow globe and then waiting for the fake snow to slowly fall to the ground so you can finally see the beautiful little village inside. As the heavy dirt settles, the coloured water will remain floating clearly at the top. This liquid layer is what we are going to look at next. The final colour of that water is about to give you a clear, undeniably visual answer about the exact chemical composition of your flower beds. It is finally time to read the cabbage rainbow and decode your hard-earned results. Look very closely at the liquid floating just above the dirt against the white paper. If the water has stayed that original, deep purple colour, congratulations, your soil is perfectly neutral. However, if the water has magically changed to a bright pink or a rosy red colour, your soil is highly acidic. The brighter and deeper the red colour becomes, the more intensely acidic the ground is. On the other hand, if the purple water has transformed into a light blue, a seafoam green, or even a yellowish-green colour, your soil is solidly alkaline. A brilliant illustration of this beautiful process is mixing watercolours on a bright white canvas and watching the shades blend into something entirely new. Seeing the water turn neon pink or bright green is an absolute shock to most beginners. This completely shatters the myth that you can judge the health of soil just by looking at how dark or rich the dirt itself appears. You could easily have the darkest, most beautiful looking compost in the entire world, but this red cabbage test might reveal that it is secretly burning your plants with hidden acidity. By matching the colour of your water to these basic rules, you have successfully performed a complex chemical analysis. Now that you finally know your test results, what do you actually do about it? Let us start with how to fix highly acidic soil, which was the pink or red cabbage water, or the aggressively bubbling baking soda. If your dirt is way too sour, you need to sweeten it. The most common and reliable method is to add agricultural lime or crushed limestone to your garden beds. Pure wood ash from your winter fireplace is also a fantastic free alternative that adds wonderful potassium. However, we must address a very dangerous gardening myth right here. Many people think that if their soil is acidic, they should dump massive, heavy bags of lime all at once for an instant magical fix. That is a terrible idea that will severely shock and potentially kill your delicate plants. Adjusting soil pH is not like flipping a quick light switch. It is exactly like trying to steer a massive ocean cruise ship. You have to make very small, slow adjustments and give it plenty of time to turn around. You should add lime gradually, scratch it lightly into the surface, water it in gently, and wait several weeks or even months for the soil biology to break it down. Patience is your absolute best tool here. By making gentle corrections over time, you will create a permanently healthy environment. Finally, let us discuss exactly how to correct highly alkaline soil, which was the green cabbage water or the wildly fizzing vinegar. Bringing the pH down to a more neutral level is notoriously a bit more challenging than raising it. To lower alkalinity, you generally need to add elemental sulfur, which soil bacteria will slowly convert into a mild sulfuric acid over time. Another excellent, much more natural approach is to heavily amend your beds with highly acidic organic matter, such as composted oak leaves, rich peat moss, or fallen pine needles. A wonderful illustration of this is trying to perfectly recreate a natural, rich forest floor right in your own backyard. In a deep forest, years of falling leaves slowly create a wonderfully balanced, slightly acidic environment. This process completely busts the myth that expensive chemical fertilizers are the only way to change your yard. Nature provides all the heavy lifting if you simply give it the right materials. Just like with adding lime, lowering your pH takes a lot of time. The bacteria need warm summer weather to actively digest the sulfur. You must also remember that soil testing is not a one-time event. Make this simple, fun kitchen test a yearly tradition every single spring to keep your garden thriving. And there you have it. The incredible twist of this whole journey is that you never actually needed an expensive, complicated laboratory to uncover the deepest hidden secrets of your garden. The key to unlocking massive, thriving plants was hiding right inside your kitchen pantry this entire time. Whether you used the quick fizz of vinegar and baking soda, or you took the time to brew the magical, colour-changing red cabbage potion, you are now fully equipped to understand the invisible world directly beneath your feet. We have learned that soil pH is the ultimate gatekeeper of all nutrients, and by simply listening to what the dirt tells us, we can finally stop guessing and start growing like true professionals. Thank you so much for watching and spending your valuable time with me today. If you found this kitchen science experiment helpful for your home garden, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a massive thumbs up, and share this video with your fellow gardeners. Now, I have a very important question for you to answer down below. What did your home soil test reveal? Are you battling the highly acidic pink zone? Or are you trying to tame the bright green alkaline dirt? Let me know in the comments, and let us get a great discussion started.